Welcome, friends, LostScarf here, and it's time for another Basically a Podcast. And today we're talking to Captain Dangerous.
Hello!
And they are a product photographer. And I've been a fan for maybe 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many years it's been, but obviously for me it's just seeing the pictures of the Kirby figurine, the Nendoroid one from Good Small Company, and just seeing all the different placements you've done with them. At some point I saw one, I'm like, oh, I have to follow. These are amazing.
Aw.
So, however long you've been doing it, sometime after that is when I followed.
I think I've been doing this for, I feel like I'm coming up on 8 years.
Wow.
7 or 8 years. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
Dang. So I want to ask, so when I get interesting guests when I can, I got to ask about their profession and everything about that. And how did you get into being a product photographer?
So, years ago, I actually am from Indiana. I moved from Indiana to Ohio several years ago. And I was very new here. I didn't have any friends, didn't really know a lot of people, was kind of basically starting my life over. And I have been collecting figures for a really long time. I never really photographed them, though. And I feel like when I moved here to Ohio, I kind of reignited that passion of collecting figures and like kind of just finding like this artistic bend towards it. And I started to kind of take photographs. I did it for fun. It was kind of therapy for me. I was going through a lot of rough stuff, and it was just some creative outlet for me to work on. And I kind of found a like-minded community on Instagram when I started. We're very small, and it was something different that nobody else was really doing, and it made people really happy. And I kind of just stuck towards it, and I really started to enjoy what I was doing, and I really just started doing it for fun. There was no like career in mind. This was literally just keeping my mental state afloat. Was me taking these pictures of these figures.
Nice. Oh, I forgot to mention, so people can look at them as they're listening. Your Twitter is Captain Dangerous, or it's anything? I can't remember at the top of my head what your Twitter is actually.
Oh, I believe it's Captain Dangerous 64. I always forget that I have a number on the end of mine because all of my other social is like the original. Like mine is Captain Dangerous, just straight out on Instagram, and then on Facebook it's Dangerous Pixels, which is like my business name.
Oh.
But yeah, I think Twitter is the only one that it's like not exactly Captain Dangerous because I jumped on the Twitter bandwagon kind of late. Yeah, I've had Instagram since it started.
Wow.
But I never really posted on it. I think I was like 14 or 15 when I got Instagram. But okay. I didn't start using it until several years later when I like moved out. And I kept my handle.
So yeah, it's Capt Dangerous 64. Okay, so they can just go to any of those like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and just look at the many amazing shots you've made with props that you've made, like nearly all of it, right?
Yes. So most of my props I completely handmade. I just recently got a 3D printer, which has helped me with more detailed miniatures. But I hand paint them all. Me and my husband both hand paint them all ourselves. So I hand paint everything. There's some that I actually completely sculpt out of clay and paint myself. Some sets, they're like some of the dioramas, they're either completely designed by me and done by me, or they're do-it-yourself kits that I've completely like either scrapped or gutted and then made them my own, so they don't look anything like what they originally got. So I have the pieces, I repaint everything, I'll add stuff to it. It's basically just a base to build off of and make it my own. But for the most part, yes, I make almost everything myself. Like I said, either from scratch or it's based off of like a blank slate set.
Dang. So just looking at your stuff, let's say for example, maybe the newest one, like the Legend of Zelda one. How long did that take to put together?
So that actually is a perfect example. So the one I just posted. That one is completely from scratch, 1000% from scratch.
Woo.
I had seen these really cute, like farmers market stalls. There's actually a farmers market down the street from where I live. I live in a very cute town.
Nice.
And every weekend they come out with fresh produce. There's like live music. It's in this little park down the street. It's very cute. And I was like, oh, this really makes me think of like the Castletown Market in Zelda, or Majora's Mask, like the Clocktown feel. Like I would love to make something like that. So I actually took a bunch of scrap wood that I had and put it together. I cut out the little flags. I drew the little like Zelda symbols on them, and like cut them all out, painted it. All of the miniatures, so that camera, the tiny picto box was handmade. All of the little like magic beans, the milk bottles. The only things that weren't actually like handmade by me that were just extras were like some of the stuff that came with like the Link figure. So like the shield and that type of stuff. But everything else completely made by me. Even the little deck area that the set is sitting on, made by me. I made a flat deck board that was basically made to just put sets on. It's just straight cut like basswood, and it's stained. And I've used it in all kinds of sets as just a base for stuff. But yeah, that's a set I did. Oh my gosh, I think, because I was checking today, I think the date was 2016 or 17 that I built that.
Wow.
So it's been a while.
Okay. So like the milk bottles, is that like little like milky white water, or is that like a gel in there? Okay.
So with that, it's actually like Elmer's glue with a little bit of paint and a little bit of water.
Okay.
And so you're very close, yes.
Okay, and then for the green one, it's I think it's also green and a red potion. Okay.
Yeah, so I had the green and I think I had green, blue, and red for the potion. So that is just water with a tiny bit of food dye.
Oh, cool. It's so impressive. It's like this whole setup here, and then going down the list, because I'm just going down the list. Oh, this is on the 25th, so this was on my birthday. The mushroom Kirby, like we've got that mushroom hat. It looks so good.
So that was another thing, completely handmade. I had seen these really awesome mushroom hats that were actually for people. They were like made of felt and something else, but they were beautiful. And I was like, this would be really, I feel like Kirby would definitely be like, he would have a mushroom hat. Like he would have like a mushroom witch feeling hat. So I sat down, and actually that was the first hat that I've ever learned how to blend blend the sculpt together. So I actually had to do two separate pieces and blend them so they all look like they were fused into one piece. And I had never done that before. And I was kind of nervous because I was trying to make it look kind of whimsical. I had to like bend up one end of the hat, and then I had to like kind of make the top curled. I wanted to make it very whimsical. But after I baked it, which was really neat. So usually what happens is I will either sculpt a base like piece. I'll add some details or whatever. What I'll do is after I bake it, I give it to my husband to paint, because he's an insanely good like miniature painter. Like he's really good at detail painting. And so I was like, hey, like, I'm going to kind of let you have your own, like, this is what I'm going for, but this is like, I want you to have your own creative bend with this. What he did is he actually took a sander and he sanded the individual little like mushroom slats underneath it. So you kind of get that feel. Yeah. Like, you've seen the underneath of the mushroom, like it's that same feel. So he did that. He's like, I thought you would like that. And then he painted the top of it and added the fade of like the dark red and everything. I mean, he completed the piece. I started it. I got the base. I got the idea. And he basically just kind of ran with it. And it's one of my favorite hats I've made for Kirby. I have several more planned, but this one was, I think, my favorite so far.
That is some nice teamwork right there.
Oh yeah, we definitely tag team on a lot of artistic stuff. I build 90% of the sets, but there's some pieces that just have his perfect like detailed painting touch on it. That just makes it perfect. Wow. The actual picto box and the Zelda market thing that you were just talking about, he actually made that for me kind of as a surprise. So I had told him, I was like, hey, like, I really would love to make this picto box. Like, I really loved this thing in Majora's Mask. I thought it was so neat. I would love to have like a miniature of it. And I was expecting something simple. I wasn't expecting something, crazy. No, he was up till 3 a.m. making this tiny little thing. And he actually figured out how to make the lens like look clear. He actually took a very small bit of hot glue and it dried clear, and that's how he got the lens to look that way. Like this was years ago. Like this is before we really had learned how to start crafting stuff. It was just like me, like, hey, I really would like some help. I'm trying to figure out how to make this picto box, and he just went above and beyond. And to this day, you know, I've had it. Gosh, I think it's been 4 years, and to this day, it is still one of my absolute favorite pieces I have. Like it's just the detail on it is absolutely incredible.
Nice. Like this is what I love about creation. Just people can just come up with things, and I get like being up to 3 a.m. just because sometimes you have to get it done, because if you don't get it done, you might forget your train of thought or something the next day, or you just can't sleep because you really want to get it done.
Exactly.
So let's see here. I'm gonna go to the pinned one. Okay, how the heck? So it's Kirby is in the air with the balloons, and there's another blue Kirby looking at him. He's like, "Hey, I want those too."
Yeah.
Is it just like fishing line, or how's he in the air?
So again, this is another tag team picture.
All right.
So this is actually in my front yard.
Okay.
So Balloon Kirby is actually being held by my husband. He has a little stand in his back, and he's actually, so what I did is I took a Figma stand, which Figma stands are a lot longer than the Nendoroid stands.
Okay.
But they work, for some reason, they work well with Kirby.
Huh.
So I have him holding that longer stand, and I'm like actually have the camera down to the ground. So it's like it's on a tripod and everything. And he is kind of like, okay, you're in focus, you're out of focus, like we're trying to like line it up. And as soon as I get it, I'm snapping the pictures. And then, because you can see his hand, I have him move his hand. Then I have to take the picture again. So what you do is when you go into Photoshop or overlay or anything, when you go into that, you overlay the photos. And because one has Kirby in it and one doesn't, you can basically erase his hand. It's a really simple and easy Photoshop trick without having to completely blur and like spot correct or stamp something to like cover up the stand or his hand or whatever. It's a very easy way to do that. And that's actually how I did it for the longest time, because it's the most true to color, true to light way to kind of Photoshop stuff out without the lighting looking like very different from the original photo. But that's how we did that. And anytime I have any figure floating or standing, like that's in air or whatever, that's usually how I do it. The other times I try to just very cleverly hide the stand. A lot of people ask me, like, how do you take pictures and the stand not show up? I've used like modified versions of the Nendoroid stands I've had. I've used sticks because they blend in more naturally with a earthy background. So if I'm, taking a picture of a figure in the grass and I need him to stand up, if you use a stick to hold him up, the brown blends in with the green and you can't tell. It's not like a plastic object, behind him that is very obvious that it's, not matching with the background. It's been a lot of trial and error with that.
Oh, I bet. Like, personally, like, the only experience I have mostly is stop motion stuff.
Yeah.
And just cameras, like, the framing and everything. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm impressed with all of this. Everything about it. The lighting, the props, the staging, the framing. It's just so good. That's why I'm such a fan.
Oh, thank you. It has taken me a very long time, and I am very much still learning. I mean, even now, there's times where, I look at things I'm like, oh, I could do this better. Like, and I think that's the biggest thing for like not only just a good artist, but an artist that's wanting to better themselves. Is it's one thing to like try to improve on your work and everything, but it's another thing to like, yes, you want to be satisfied with what you're doing, but you also never want to be so satisfied to the point where you're settled. So you kind of always want to be like, I could try and do better. Maybe I could learn something that will help me with another set later on. And that's kind of what I've learned over the last, I would say, year or so, is to push myself out of those comfort zones to learn new techniques from stuff that I may not even think applies to macro photography, but will help me in the end. I do a lot of wedding photography on the side. I do a lot of like typical like photography stuff. I do a lot of it because it's a challenge. It's different, and it teaches me how to be quick on my feet and how to learn how to change lighting quickly. And it also teaches me like it's just a new style or a new level of my craft that I'm learning how to do, because I don't want to just be good at one thing. Like, yes, macro photography is, what I lean towards, but I want to learn how to do everything. Video photography, product photography, people photography, nature photography, like whatever you can throw at me, like I want to learn. And I think that's really important for artists to just never feel, when you start feeling comfortable, I feel like you start to settle. And I feel like the biggest thing is you don't want to feel comfortable. You want to constantly be pushing yourself outside of your boundaries, because that's how you grow, that's how you learn, and that's how you start to get more confident in what you're doing. And I used to be that person that was afraid to try new stuff. I wanted to stay in my little cocoon where, I knew I was good at this. But you have to go out there and fail to learn. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't want to do, but it has helped me. And honestly, failing and having to pick myself up again and trying to learn how to a new technique, or not being the best at it, has helped not only my confidence but also helped me when I learn new projects and things to not be so overwhelmed by it, because I'm learning new stuff. I know I've been through worse or harder things. Like, I can take on this new stuff. And I think that's a big thing for artists of all mediums, not just photography, illustration, videography, like anything. You really have to test those limits if you want to grow and get better.
That is inspiring, incredibly inspiring. That's really good what you just said, and I hope anyone listening takes that to heart, because I know a lot of artists and everything, and there's a lot of fear of failure for sure, and also,
and that's exactly why I say what I do, because I very much feel that for those people who are afraid to step out of their boundaries, to do something different, because you're afraid that people aren't gonna like it, or it's not not what I did before, it's not the same style or this. Like, honestly, forget those people. Like, you want people that are gonna be by your side and encouraging you as you're trying new things, because I'm going to be honest, constantly doing the same thing over and over again and never trying something new or stepping outside of your boundaries, like it's just soul crushing. Like, there's nothing that you don't feel like you're moving forward, because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And that's why I started, doing different styles of photography, and started pushing myself and starting to do videography and putting myself in front of the camera a little bit and doing these things, because I knew if I didn't, I would never progress. And I am terrified oftentimes of being in front of the camera. And it took several times of me having to be in front of the camera and telling myself that I could do it, that I could get past it, and that I was the only one that was being super critical and hard on myself, and that this was something that I could overcome, and that I knew after I did it that I would be way more confident. And I can tell you, every time you put yourself out there and you do that, you will feel so much better afterwards. You're going to feel empowered. You're going to feel like you can take on the world, and you're going to be able to push yourself to do that next hard project, or that thing that you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough to do. You may feel like you're not good enough to do it, but I guarantee you can conquer it. Because I don't know how many times I have had projects thrown at me from companies that are way out of my league. And I've looked at them like, you know what? I can do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but you know what? I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to do it professionally. And I'm going to prove to them that I've got, I've got the power to do this. That's really the best way I can put it.
Those are really good words. Really. Like, I'm not trying to blow smoke. Those are really good words.
Well, I'm glad. Like I said, I have been through quite a bit, and I hope, if anything, my goal is to encourage artists of all kinds, big or small, that they can push themselves out of those comfort zones. Because trust me, your girl has had to do it several times, and to this day, there are times where people come to me, they're like, "How do you do it?" And I look them in the eye and I go, "I don't know, truthfully." I really don't. I do my best, but I'm just a person here in the middle of Ohio, Like I'm out in the middle of like cornfields. Like I'm just a country girl. Like I'm doing the best I can.
Ooh. All right. Question as a fan of Kirby is just how helpful is it just how expressive Kirby is with these Nendoroids?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I get asked constantly. They're like, "All right, who's your favorite Nendoroid?" And it's hard. It's hard because I love Link. I do love Link. But Kirby has grown on me so much. So the reason I love him not only as just a character, but as a figure, the reason I love him as a character is because he's universal. You can use him in anything, and he just fits right in. He's just this. You look at him, there's just positivity. He's got this attitude, and he's just a ball with 4 limbs. Like, I mean, he's precious. But the reason I love him as a figure, outside of just being a character, I love the fact that in the Nendoroid version of him is that his arms are magnetic. Because I will tell you right now, posing Nendoroids because they're chibi and they have large heads is a pain in the butt. Because they are very top heavy. They very easily fall over, and Kirby is a godsend because you can just move his little magnetic arms wherever. He's very like grounded, so he's pretty easy to pose on things. And that's the biggest thing with some of the other Nendoroids is that they have their full legs and arms, and then especially with Link, he's got like especially Majora's Mask Link, like he's got this big hat, and I love him so much, but oh my goodness, is he a pain in the butt he's a pain in the butt. I have to like very strategically pose him to either hide the stand or like make sure that his hat and like the front of his body perfectly like evens out with the weight, so he like doesn't fall over, but he also doesn't fall backwards. Like, it literally looks like I'm setting up, like, Jenga. Like, how I'm, like, trying to pose him.
Oh, wow.
It's very funny.
Does it make you really good at Jenga, by the way?
Oh, well, honestly, you would think. But even then, I still mess it up. Now, if they were balancing Nendoroids, now maybe I'd be good at it. I'd be like, all right, I got this.
Yeah, that's what I like about the Kirby Nendoroids. I have them all just because I'm a fan. But, it really helps with using him as reference for drawing Kirby. Because I can put him in so many positions. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I can put light under him and understand, oh, this is how you would shade him. And the realization is, well, if you learn how to shade a ball, you can kind of learn how to shade Kirby, too.
Exactly. Honestly, I just feel like he's such a great, especially for people who are just illustrating in general, I feel like he's such a good reference for people learning how to shade and to pose. Because he is just a ball with, 4 limbs, and you can move them around, and you were talking about the light, you can learn shading really well, and it's a good base to build off of because he doesn't have like a nose or anything else you have to deal with shading. He's just a cute little pink ball.
Yeah. What I like is the base face, just the mouth open, everything. For a lot of them, it's a sense of wonder or just a sense of happiness. So you can convey a lot of things just with that base face.
Exactly. I love it so much. I really hope, and I honestly would love to push Good Smile with this because I know they released yellow Kirby. I really want green Kirby, and I know, it's my knowledge, I believe Waddle Dee gets released this month. I'll have to check.
Yeah, he comes out early September.
September. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting it's August.
Oh, we're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. Which I'm so excited for because I love Waddle Dee, and I'm excited to do photos with him and Kirby together because he's adorable.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, you can't. I was just going to say, like, you can't wait for Waddle Dee, right? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I actually, it was funny. I was looking because I've actually been an admin for a couple Nendoroid groups like for a few years now. And it's funny, I forget when pre-order stuff comes out, but I'm reminded because of the groups I mod. So I had one come out today. They're like, oh yeah, this is all that's releasing in September. And I saw Waddle Dee and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. He comes out here. I like got so excited. I was like, I completely forgot he came out in September.
It's like Good Smile. They have so many nice figurines in general.
They really do. They put so much care into the figures they create, and not only that, but I'm honestly not even just speaking from the fact that I worked for them, but I'm speaking from the years that I have bought and worked, like, we've done customer service through them and all this stuff, that they've always been wonderful. And like I said, I'm not speaking biasly. I'm speaking as somebody who's a consumer and not somebody who just, works for them. And anytime I have, a piece was broken or it came broken or something was missing or scuffed or whatever, they would replace it instantly. They would send me a replacement piece. Like it was no big deal. Most of their figures, like honestly, every single one I have gotten has been just top quality. Like the only time I've had ones that, been missing a piece or whatever has either been like a manufacturer error or something in shipping, and even then they still replaced it. Like I've never had any other figure company or anything do that. And I've always been very impressed with how they treat like I said, their customers, and not only that, but their fans. Like I know that they are trying to branch out with a lot of different figures that are, I know they're doing a lot of Fortnite stuff and things like that. I know typically they stuck with anime stuff, but I'm really happy to see them branching out and doing all kinds of things, just because the quality of their figures is unmatched in my opinion when it comes to the accessories and like how cute they look, how well the paint job is. I've been collecting figures since I was 9. And I can tell you, I have waited years to see figures as good as Good Smile and as good as the Figma that they produce. And I have yet to see anything that is that posable and that looks that well. I know sometimes it can take a long time to, get orders in and stuff, but to me, it's always been worth it.
Okay. Different question. I don't know if this is 3D printed or just really well hand drawn or what. The little cartridges.
Which one of the is this the Switch or the Game Boy?
I wrote the picture that has both of them in your hand. Like
Those
I guess
made
the boxes.
by hand.
So that's just like a little tiny paintbrush, like.
So those are actually printed.
Okay.
Those are printed. No, they're not 3D printed. They're paper printed, and I
Okay.
had to fold them and mold them to be that size.
Wow.
Which was a very big pain in the butt. Because so here's the thing. When you print boxes of that size, you can't just print like typical printer paper because it's too thin. It doesn't hold the color well enough. You have to print a very specific cardstock. When you print that cardstock, it is a little bit thicker than paper. So when you fold it, it can sometimes crunch and fold over important parts of the box or whatever, to basically it looks like crap. Like it looks like somebody rolled up a piece of paper or rolled up a ball of trash. Like, so you have to very carefully define those lines that you're folding over and gluing to make it look like a perfect box. And I printed so extra small because I wanted to be Nendoroid size. And so I did that. I think I have Pokemon Sun and Moon of that size somewhere. I know I have Pokemon red, blue, and yellow. I think I have green too. And then I have all the Switch cases, which I'm actually getting ready to make either a miniature GameCube or N64. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I have the boxes I want to print. And then like fold and get obviously customized to size. But yeah, those are paper.
Okay, I feel like a GameCube would be way easier to do.
Oh, that's true. I've looked at how I wanted to do it. Part of me wants to do N64 because I know it'll be harder.
Yeah.
But I also am kind of up to the challenge because I love Nintendo 64. I also really want to make the tiny game guides to N64 because I was a huge fan. Like, so I have a collection of all of the Nintendo powers of probably the last, like, oh my gosh, 6 or 7 years. I think I have all of them. And I remember always getting the Nintendo Power game guides that you could get for like they were like the little mini guides that you could get with the magazines.
Oh yeah.
And I think I have every Zelda game guide from that.
Nice.
I used to be really big into collecting the game guides to really any game, but I was really particular on the Zelda ones. And I have like Majora's Mask. I have 3 different ones of Majora's Mask from different companies. Same with Ocarina of Time. I have a couple. I think I have a couple that are. It was like, do you remember the GameCube, like Zelda edition that had like, I think it had Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and like the first 2 Zeldas. I think I had that special edition guide somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to like scour bookstores for them because they were super cheap. You could go to like used bookstores and people didn't know what they were worth. So I would like, I'm pretty sure I have like probably 30 or 40 of them somewhere around my house.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a lot. I think the majority of the books I've collected have been game guides and art books. Like if I stacked them up, it would be impressive.
Nice. Like for me, it was EGM. I was subscribed to EGM all my life. I had all of them.
Oh, that's so awesome. No, I always had such a fascination with like game guides. Like I don't know what it was. I'm like, oh, this is my favorite game. Like, oh, I'm gonna get this. I think I was just fascinated with like being able to look at the artwork and like the little screenshots in it and everything. Growing up, my family didn't have a lot of money. I started working at like 14 to actually get money to be able to buy game systems. I worked at a diner and I mowed my neighbor's lawn.
Dang.
And that's how I got my Wii, because I was going to get a GameCube. I really, really wanted to play Twilight Princess really, really badly. And I was like, oh, well, the Wii, I can play that on it. So I remember saving money that summer. And to this day, this was the best summer of my life. I saved up money to get that. And I was able to get Smash Brothers. And I was able to get like Wind Waker and like all, obviously the GameCube games work on the Wii. And that summer basically changed my life. That's when I knew that I wanted to be in games. Like I had a feeling like, I really do want to work in like the gaming industry, but I didn't know what. And I remember watching the E3 of that year when I got the Wii. And I remember looking at my little brother. We had a shared computer. It was a piece of crap. We had a shared computer. I remember begging my mom. I was like, "Oh my gosh, E3 is coming on." She's like, "What? Just let me watch this." And I remember sitting and watching. I remember looking at my little brother, and I told him, I was like, "One day," I said, "your sister is going to go to E3." And I would say about 6 or 7 years later, I went to my first E3, and I remember texting him as I was there for Breath of the Wild.
Ooh.
And I was actually almost in tears. I texted him and I said, "Buddy, I made it."
Nice.
And to this day, like I still look back on pictures of that, and I've gone the last 4 years, obviously, unfortunately, due to this year, with COVID and stuff, but I've been every year since. But he still talks about that. He's almost 19 now, and he was telling me, he's like, "Remember when you said when we were kids you were gonna go to E3?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like all teary eyed. I was like, "I did it, buddy."
That is nice. Keeping the dream.
Really, oh yeah, I told him, I was like, "I'm gonna do it someday." I really didn't think it was gonna happen, but my life has been a roller coaster for years, so I don't know what to expect anymore. But yeah, it was really cool.
I'm just going down looking at all these great shots and everything. People just go to her Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. There's just so many good things in here. So,
thank you. I appreciate it.
I know I wanted to ask something. Like, look at my reference.
No, you're fine. Take your time.
Oh, right. Okay. So, cameras. Like,
yes.
What do you use?
So currently, I use a Canon 6D Mark II. It is a Mark II, Mark III. I'm getting them confused. I'm so confused simply because we just ordered a new camera, and I'm like, am I getting this mixed up with the new one we just ordered? So I'm pretty sure Canon D Mark II. Yeah, okay, Mark II. Okay, we're good. Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not getting it mixed up with the new camera. Because we just ordered, so Canon just unveiled the new R5 and R6, which is their mirrorless flip LCD camera that's absolutely stunning.
Oh.
And I just upgraded to that. but I've been using the 6D for, I would say, the last 2.5 years. And I will tell people now, honestly, even I recommend it for people doing macro or figure photography to always get a camera with a flip LCD, simply because you can get low to the ground, you can move the lens out, and you can see what you're doing without actually having to like get flat to the ground to look at the screen, you know?
Yeah.
But I will say also, especially working with my friend who's an absolutely phenomenal wedding photographer, just photographer in general. She's been doing this for 10 years. It helps with that too. Like if you're taking wedding photography, portrait photography, whatever, having a flip LCD is a game changer. It makes it so much easier for you to kind of have a good view of everything that you're doing, what you're capturing, without having to lay flat and, you know, deal with a flat screen or a fixed screen. So that's a great thing about the new R6 and R5 that are coming out. They are flip LCD, they are mirrorless, and they're also great video quality, which is something I really wasn't into as much. But the reason I am now is because I've started doing more video stuff lately. I can't say for who or what yet, but you'll get to see eventually.
Cool.
Yeah, you'll see hopefully either later this month or the beginning of September. You'll be seeing my face a bit more, unfortunately. I'm sorry. You'll get to see actually more in depth of not only my home, but what I do, and how I do things, and you'll get to hear me talk about how I do stuff. So that's a little bit why I actually upgraded cameras, is because this has autofocus with video, which, let me tell you, it helps so much.
That's good, because I was going to ask if you ever considered doing something like that so people could see more in depth how you do it.
Yeah, so I have. I do my little time-lapse things, simply because, like, I love giving little tidbits and stuff. I have very much and thoroughly thought about either doing Twitch or YouTube, and uploading that type stuff. And not that I'm against it, it's just video takes a little bit more. And because I'm constantly doing, product photography, like, it's not just, so like, I do work for Good Smile. I'll do work for, my other companies. And then I have my actual own art page that I do stuff for. So sometimes it can get to be a bit much. And obviously video editing, is a lot more. Thankfully, my husband, who went to school for video editing and recording and that stuff, yes, he did. So he understands that a bit more, where I do not. I am completely stupid to it. So he understands what looks good with a cut. With it, like, he knows how to cut stuff and make everything look good, which is amazing. But for me, I'm basically just I take pictures of stuff. I am slowly learning videography, along with a friend of mine, from him, but also from other people who do wedding videography. It is definitely a similar art form, but there's a lot more editing involved.
Just a quick thing on camera. So, as a layman, there's only like two camera names I know, and that is Canon and then Nikon. Nikon's more for like sporting events, I guess. Their cameras?
I know it's funny because there's a lot of times, people honestly view Nikon, Sony, and Canon often like it's like Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation, right? It's very similar.
Okay.
But in my opinion, like, it's all about what you want out of your camera. Like, I think like Canon works for me because I like the color grade. I like the interface is very easy to use. And it's just what I learned how to use. And with Nikon is very comparable. It really is what you want out of the camera. Nikon, it's really like, you enjoy their interface and their color grade. Awesome. Like, and same with Sony. Sony, beautiful cameras. They have gorgeous, they have they have flip LCD, like, they have all that stuff. It's really what you want out of your camera. Like, there's no, like, I know people like are competitive with it, oh, you use Nikon, or oh, you use Sony or Canon or whatever. And I'm just like, listen, like, because people ask me constantly, they're like, oh, I was like, I use Canon simply because, like, I enjoy the interface, the color grade, and it's easy for me to use. Like, I've been able to learn off of it the best. But honestly, like, you're gonna get a great camera out of any of the three. It's just what you are comfortable with and what feels good to you. And like I said, I know people are weirdly competitive with that stuff, but it's the same thing with PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. Like, they're all great systems. They all have different, different aspects. They have different games, different whatever, but they're all fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best way I can put it. People always like, I feel like they always kind of try to start like this weird war between it. I'm like, they're all great cameras. Like, just pick what's best for you.
I've just been scrolling through all these pictures as we're talking, and they're all great. As I said already, I'm broken record. Okay, so we've gone for all right. Okay. There's some things I want to ask before we get. Okay, gotta ask. Since you've been Nintendo for a lot of your life, like me.
Yes.
So, favorite character out of Legend of Zelda? It can be
So,
Link, but if it is, you got to say which game Link. If you,
I do love Link. My favorite version of Link is Ocarina of Time Link. My favorite character is probably a tie between Skull Kid. I love him because he's weird and just like, I don't know. He always appealed to me. I always loved his character design. I loved how like quirky he was and kind of whimsical and creepy. And I just kind of loved all of it. I also love, this is tough. I really do enjoy Midna from Twilight Princess as well. I love her sassiness. I love her design. So actually before I went into or kind of felt that photography was my thing, I actually was going into character design, character and concept design. So I actually I'm a sketch artist. I used to do art and stuff like that. And so I very much love a very good character, creature, or monster design. And that's one thing I absolutely loved about Binna is I loved her impish design. I loved how sassy she was. And I loved just the whole idea of her almost speaking like a Japanese. I feel like she spoke Japanese backwards. I think that's what was there said or something. They talked about how she spoke stuff backwards. I can't remember exactly. It was like garbled Japanese to English or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But I loved that. I was like, oh, that's so creative. Another thing besides doing character and concept design, the other thing I actually almost went into, and to this day I still really want to do, is set design for either a movie or a TV show. And I really hope to be able to do that because I build sets, but they're in tiny form. So I would love to actually be able to help build a set for a movie, like whatever, a TV show or something, in real scale. At some point, I'd love to help with that. Even if it's in like the smallest capacity, I would love to be like, hey, I carved out that tiny rock in the corner. At least I did it,
Nice. Well, that's cool. Ocarina of Time for sure. That's a great Link.
Yes.
Like, I think that's the one I played the most was Ocarina of Time. I played that a lot in high school.
Me
Way
too.
Too much.
I'm actually playing through it right now. It took me a bit. I was actually trying to. So I could have sworn that I bought them on the Wii, back when they had the virtual console. But apparently I didn't. So I'm going back and like digging through. I'm like, I know I have the special edition disc. I couldn't find it. So then I'm on like the Wii and the Wii the eShop. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna buy it for $10 because I give up. Like I apparently can't find it. So like I downloaded it. I'm like, all right, fine, we got it, we're good. So I've been playing through it, and I forgot how much I just enjoyed. Like even the older graphics. Like I don't know, there's something so charming about it. I love the blockiness of it. I know they have the remake of that and Majora's Mask, but there is something very magical about the original that I feel like no remake or HD version is going to compare to it.
I'm going to say I agree, because I've only played the original.
Oh, I've played the 3DS one?
No, I've only played the N64 version.
Ooh, I mean, like I said, I will say, the 3DS version is gorgeous. I really do hope Like, my only qualm with that and the Majora's Mask one is I feel like I wish they would have just changed the graphics and not really changed any other dynamics of the game, because I feel like they made it too easy.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Like, it's still enjoyable, but I feel like it's lost some of its clunky charm. Because some of the things in Majora's Mask that made it difficult and, like I said, clunky also added to the charm of it. Like, it was kind of a pain in the butt, but at the same time, like, it added to the game that it was at that time. And it's the same thing with, like, Metroid and the old Mario games. Like, wow, they could have streamlined this if they did this. But the fact that they didn't just kind of makes it takes you back to that time where, like, wow, this was really difficult and they could have made this easier, but they didn't.
Now I want to ask, have you played any Kirby games or just played with the figure?
Oh no, so I have not played a lot, but I have put it upon myself after loving the figure so much that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start playing some of the games. So I have played a few of the older ones, but I do really love the I believe it's called Kirby's, is it Dream Course?
Ooh, yep, Kirby's Dream Course. That's the golf one.
Yes, I love that game. Oh my goodness, it's like Kirby Golf.
Yep.
I love it so much. I would say, like, I know it's like, I mean, yes, it's a Kirby game, but it's like a Kirby, like, battle royale game where you're just like, you're trying to knock each other off and stuff. But I absolutely freaking love that game. It's hilarious. I love the music and the way the levels are. Like, I don't know, it's super fun to me. I love Dream Course. I do love some of the newer Kirby games. I loved Robobot. I thought it was cute.
Nice.
I love the different, things you could add to your suit. But yeah, I need to go through and play all of the older Kirby's. I like I said, I haven't really gotten a chance to play through all of, like, the originals, but I do know I love Dream Course very much.
Like, it's fortunate, what was it? So I have a second podcast called Kirby's Dreamcast, because I thought it was a fun play on words. And it's going over the anime, but also the games in order. And I learned so much about the making of Dream Course. In that it was originally like Pin Course, something like it was like its own game. And then they're like, Kirby might be good on this. And then they put Kirby and they had powers. And they just made so much out of it with Kirby on it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. It's so funny because they're much just like, what could make this better? Let's just add Kirby to it.
That's actually what I really like about Nintendo is, Hal's partially Nintendo, their own thing. Where, for Hal as a company, because I also went through their history with the podcast, is they've made everything. They were gaming enthusiasts from the start. So they've made, like, pinball games, they've made, like, a pool game, gambling games, they made a bunch of sport games, they made everything. So they have an experience in just doing crazy, random stuff. So that's why Kirby has so many random games.
Right.
We want to make a breakthrough game. All right, put Kirby on it, and it works.
Oh, it does. It really does. They're like, oh, who would fit perfect for this random game we're doing? Kirby!
Yep. And then the same thing happens with Nintendo themselves. They have the same idea.
Yeah.
Like, we have a fun idea. Who can we put on this? Do we want to put Link on this idea? Mario? And then they figure out who. Or in the case of Splatoon, it was they were making a Mario game, and then they realized, no, Mario doesn't fit perfect for this. Why don't we just make it original? And it became Splatoon.
Yeah, why don't we just... Exactly. And honestly, I am so glad. Like, I'm slightly sad because, like, I'm really glad Splatoon, their original concept has done so well, but I'm a little sad that ARMS hasn't done as well.
Yeah.
Because I love ARMS. So, like, when I was actually at E3, I think it was I can't remember if it was the year that ARMS released or it was, like, one of the year after when they were, like, doing tournaments with Splatoon, Smash Brothers, and ARMS.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember winning one of the ARMS tournaments, and to this day, I still have this. I'm actually looking at it right now in the office. I have the ARMS snapback.
Nice.
Yeah, we won one of the tournaments, and they gave it to us. But yeah, like, I loved ARMS. I remember doing the beta for it. I went to a Switch release party in Chicago to do coverage, and it was a closed event. and they only had I can't remember how many people to test. They had to test like Breath of the Wild, I think on the Switch, and like a bunch of other, I can't remember what other games they had. Like they had ARMS, they had Splatoon. I can't remember the other one, but yeah, I remember like being able to like box and fight and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is so cool! Like it was really fun. And I really hope that they kind of I don't want to say like reignite it, but like revamp it. Because I love the concept and the characters were so cool. The music was absolutely amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought it was such a cool concept, especially since like a lot of companies like they're sticking to their old guns of like the classics. I know Nintendo typically does that, but I love the fact that they were still branching out with some new styles, some new characters, new games, and with ARMS and Splatoon, and I really hope they kind of do that again because I was very much enjoying it.
Yeah, like I feel like once every 5 years a new concept comes out.
Exactly.
It was ARMS, Splatoon before that. I think maybe Animal Crossing was the concept before that. Like no, Animal Crossing's all the way back to 64. Forget that. Or GameCube.
Yeah, Animal Crossing started with it was 64, and because what was the first one for Animal Crossing for 64? I can't remember. It was called
it was in Japan I think it was called like Animal Life or something, but in America it was called just Animal Crossing.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was like Animal Crossing with like some subtitle, because then I remember in the GameCube it was like, what was it? Animal
New
Crossing
Leaf?
like new something,
I think
or
it's New Leaf, but that might be 3DS.
No, New Leaf was 3DS because
Okay.
that was my introduction to Animal Crossing. I had played a little bit of it on the GameCube, but I never actually got the chance to own the GameCube because we never had like the money for it. So the only time I played it was at a friend's house. But New Leaf was like, I still to this day have probably over 1,000 hours in that game. And then it came out on the Switch. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my life.
I spent too much time. I built the island's Kirby. It's just a giant Kirby.
Oh, that's so cute. So mine is all like, honest to God, it's very similar to like my house now, but it's very like cottagey. But I also put a bunch of attributes in it. So I actually created, which you'll have to visit my island. I actually created this little grove of trees that's like in A Link to the Past, where you come and speak to the flute boy, and he like plays his flute, and then I have the stump and everything.
Oh
like
my
it
God,
looks
nice.
And like I hid it like away in my island. And I would love it because you have to go through a grove of trees to find it. It's like my orchard you have to go through.
Nice.
And my friends found it. They're like, "Oh my gosh, is this from Zelda?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Nice. Like and I can't even imagine how much time that took. Like just Kirby Island took, I don't know, 40 something hours. I can't imagine how long your thing took. Dang.
Oh, so I only terraformed a bit. I kept because I was very particular at my island base because I kind of knew what I was gonna do. I moved my house like way up in the corner on the mountains, like away from everything, and I built like my little village. I built like a little vegetable garden, and then like built like my little shopping town around it and everything. And then I built like a hiking trail and stuff. But yeah, I hid my little Zelda, like my little Zelda shrine in the corner.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really funny because my friend's like, this is from Zelda, right? And I'm like, yeah. That was cute.
Nice. All right. Random question. Since y'all are so good working with painting little miniatures, any experience with 40K?
Any experience with what? I'm sorry?
Warhammer 40K?
Oh, so, okay. Not Warhammer, but I have a ridiculous amount of D&D minis.
Okay.
Which are very similar.
Yeah.
I'm literally looking at them right now.
Nice.
This is actually something, like, again, this is, like, something my husband does. He actually, like, he's a writer. So he does a lot of, he was a writer before I met him, and then once we started doing like D&D stuff, he's actually written like D&D campaigns and stuff for us. We're actually, our group, me and him and our friend group, are actually doing like a pirate D&D campaign that he's written. And so he has all of us in like pirate version that he's hand painted, which I'll have to show you. He, like I said, he's an insane painter, like detail painter. They look so ridiculously good.
Nice.
And he has like a bunch of cool creatures. He actually painted me my favorite monster, which is the Lushan. It's actually from The Witcher, but it's an old creature from overseas, but he's been around for ages. But yeah, so he painted me that. Yeah, he's so good at like mini painting. But yeah, yeah, like I said, I'm looking at like all of our characters like on my shelf right now that he's painted. That's getting like that we're gonna use for our next session. But yes, when it comes to war, like I guarantee he would do Warhammer stuff too if he wasn't like doing a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah, I love the Warhammer minis though. I used to help one of my friends paint them. I always thought they were super neat.
All right. Well, I told him we talked about D&D for a second after the podcast because it's time to round it out. So the last thing I want to ask is just for anyone like anyone young or even old, just if they wanted to do like some photography just for fun or something like that, what would your advice be?
So I always tell people starting out with photography. I know you're very tempted to start out with, you see people starting out with these big fancy cameras and all that stuff. And I know it's tempting to do that. But I will tell you right now, I started with a very badly broken iPhone when I started taking pictures. And I started again with a very low-end Canon camera, taking pictures and realizing, like, I really like this. It's okay to start out small. Your only competition, your only person that you're trying to beat is yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about anybody else's cameras, their quality, whatever. You focus on bettering yourself and your pictures and what's making you happy. And not, comparing yourself to everybody else, because I used to be like that. And I can tell you right now, like, if you're happy with a photo you took, whether it's with an iPhone, a low-end Canon, or the highest-end, like, camera, like, that's what's important, is that you're seeing progress in yourself, you're seeing progress in your art, and you're happy with it. So I always tell people starting out, start small, kind of get a feel for it, and see if, like, this is something I really enjoy, this is something I actually, like, want to put time and money into, or if it's, like, something, I enjoy doing this casually, then get a small, like, point-and-shoot camera and roll with it. Like, you can do so much with just even an iPhone, or, like I said, or a low-end point-and-shoot camera. It's all about who's behind the lens. It's all about the person that's taking the photo, and it's all about, you learning composition. Like, you have to learn those things, and you don't have to have this big fancy camera to do that. Like I said, I started with an iPhone, and I barely knew what I was doing. But I learned how to do composition. I learned how to do lighting, even from that. And that's what's important. You build off of that. And if it's something you really enjoy, and it's something you feel like you really want to get into, then you upgrade from there. And the biggest thing too, have fun with it. Don't pressure yourself to be better than, all these other people, or, other people that have either better cameras, or, doing all this stuff, or posting constantly. Like, go at your own pace and have fun. Because if you're not having fun and you're not enjoying what you're doing and you're forcing yourself to do it, then the creativity, the part of you that's coming out in your art isn't going to be there. And that's what I've learned from years of doing this.
This is so inspirational. It's really good. I love how inspiring this is.
Good. I'm glad. I really hope that this resonates with a lot of people, because I have been in those hard spots where you just don't feel like you're clicking with anything, and you're hard on yourself, and you don't need to be. You really don't. Art is subjective. Art is between you and the piece that you're working on. Truly.
Nice. That makes me want to do better. All right. I gotta ask this before we head out, and then we're out. Have you played Origami King?
Yes, I love it.
Have you beaten it?
No, but I am a good chunk of the way there. I love it, and I think all the toads in it are absolutely hilarious. We like run into a tree and they like pull out a ball of paper, and you're like, Toad, and you're like, I'm here.
It's great, and yeah, the toads are hilarious. The writing's hilarious. What blows my mind is the fact all those origami toads are doable.
Right?
So crazy.
It's so funny.
Wait, what stream are you up to?
I'm sorry, what?
What color stream are you at?
I'm not sure. It's been a bit.
Okay. Well, that is basically a podcast. Wonderful guest, Captain Dangerous.
Oh, it's so wonderful being on here. Thank you.
And yeah, I think there's a lot of value to this podcast. It's very inspirational. There's so much good stuff. Everyone, check it out. Once again, our Instagram is Captain Dangerous.
Yes.
Is it 64 or just Captain Dangerous?
Captain Dangerous on Instagram and Captain Dangerous 64 on Twitter.
Okay, and I'll have all the links in the YouTube version's description, and yeah, check it out. It's so good.
So, thank you.
It has been basically a podcast. I had fun talking. I hope y'all had fun listening, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.
Bye.